I want to introduce our guest speaker. She's already on the call. But I think that it's important for me to say that typically we would project a bio. But when I read her profile, there's no way for us to condense it into a small thing because this is a 45-year career we're talking about. She has seen it all. And you know, it's a lot. She's a very impressive. There's some of the when she retired from the Supreme Court last year in September, her valedictory speech. We will share the link to that so that we can get a feel of it. And for just so that you get what I'm saying, the valedictory speech is 19 pages, and I promise you it's a page turner. So without further ado, I would introduce Honorable Justice Amina Augie. She's here and she's with us now. You're very welcome, Ma. I'm very happy to have you here. Very excited as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So I think I want to say that, first of all, when we discussed this fireside chat, we were trying to say, okay, how do we approach it? Should we give you a list of questions? And when I read everything, watched all the videos, and I said, no, this cannot be, this has to be us just sit down and hear you speak. That's all I want to do today. And then we would have questions. So please, if you have questions as she's speaking, please put it in the Q&A or the chat box so that we can ask as we proceed or when she's done speaking. So I think that going by the theme, Inspire Inclusion, again, you've been in the in this life for more than 70 years and you've worked for 45 of it. So I'm very interested in your journey in the most concise way possible, because again, I know it's long and a lot has happened in that time. So I want to hear for the sake of all our colleagues on the call, because we have male colleagues and then the women as well. So just to share with us how your journey has been, and then we'll get to the talk of inclusion, especially as a woman in the workplace.
Thank you so very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you so very much. I'm highly honored to be sitting. I'm actually in the UK. I came for medical reasons, and I've switched off all my phones. I've not had anything to do with anybody for the last 2 months since I've been here. And somehow your group found me out somewhere hidden here, and here I am speaking today. It's what they say about you can't hide sometimes. And when we talk about inspiring inclusion, I would say that Alhamdulillah, we say thank God that I'm in a position to be able to say, yes, I straddled both working in the man's world, being a woman, and be able to get to the top. I wouldn't talk like this if I was still on the journey. But like she said, I retired in September last year. So looking back, I can say that having people like me able to talk about the journey helps them a lot. Because by the time I joined the judiciary on the bench, I was a lecturer for the first 10 years or so, basically. And by the time I joined the bench, about 35 years, in 1988 or so, very few women. You know, it was an area that we were just breaking through. And in those days, there was no money in that job, so a lot of people didn't want to do it. And so I found myself, like we would say, pioneering the struggle through the magistracy to the High Court, then to the Court of Appeal, and finally to the Supreme Court, where after all the years of having a Supreme Court in Nigeria, I was the 6th woman to get there, we thank God, and now at least to get there. I'm trying to lay a foundation for trying to explain that talking about inspiring and inclusion, you know, inclusion just simply means the action or state of including or being included within a group. In this stage, we're talking about a human race. So how was the journey for me? I would start by saying, whether I'm talking to men or women, I would say that we all here, we all have our peculiar gifts, abilities, skills. We are all made up of different things. Some of us can go through the funnest, some can't. Some, it's not a sign of weakness to say that you didn't suffer, or if we look at the bush, if you look at the bush and somebody's given a machete to cut the path through, and you follow. It's not a sign of weakness to say, oh, I'm following, I'm not the one cutting the path, or the person cutting the path will say, why is it easier for somebody else behind me? It's a case of being where you are to do what you're meant to do with all that you have been given, your skills and abilities. So first thing I would say would be that later when I hear all your questions, at least I'm sure I'll be able to be more specific. But one thing I would say is that the focus, there is a focus, something that says what would I say? You take it day as it comes. I would say that if I talk about my years of the judiciary, it was always one judgment after another. Every judgment was accorded the same. No case was too small or too big. I dealt with what was in front of me as it came along. Where we talk about women being different, of course, is that nature being what it is, women are created different. We think different. We have a way of seeing things that are different from the men. And if we go back to caveman days, the man was the one that went out to kill and bring food, and the woman to prepare the food and make sure to nurture. So how did we now come, when we talk about inclusion, would be to say, how do you now take all of that along with you? Because when you talk about, like I said, inclusion would be a case of, how would I say it? You're not bringing who you are, who you really are, not the person that has to now curtail this side of you so that they don't say, nobody will say, oh, you are this part, or bringing the domestic part of things into the work front, or taking the work thing back home. I know, you would believe that I know female judges that have got their husbands locked up. One of them actually got her husband locked up because she said he stole her wig and gown and stuff like that. You see, I mean, there's something about how did I get there? It's compartmentalizing. It's accepting that there are certain roles that have to be played at certain times. And meanwhile, inside you, there's a lesser, like a focus, like something that says, I can deal with this because I have something else ahead of me. These are just distractions. But that main focus that tells you you are going somewhere, you cope with it. And like I told a young man the other day, I said something about challenges. I met him here. He's afraid of going to Nigeria to do NYSC because they said the camp is terrible. It's going to be horrible in the camp after being studying abroad. And what I told him was, if you run away from that camp, I can assure you that life will come back. You will keep going. You think you've done away with it. One day something will happen where the lessons you would have learned in the camp, yes, the toilets are bad, everything's just a month. You go through it, you deal with it. Later in life, you'll be shocked to find out that something else would come, and that experience you've garnered will be able to guide you to cope with it. That's the thing about challenges, about what you call obstacles. You climb them, you face them, you deal with them as it comes, whether in the home front, whether at work, and whether we like it or not, we have contenders everywhere. If it's at home, you have all the kinds of emotional challenges that come with being married, with in-law problems, with all manners of things. The men have their own problems because they have to grapple with the fact that they are supposed to be providers. They're supposed to take care of the home front. Meanwhile, the money is tight. The woman wouldn't know that things are difficult. So he goes home and he takes it out on her and the family and things like that. We grapple with the same problems. It may not be exactly the same. So if we're talking of inclusion, we have to think about everybody coming in with all their whatever is going on, but at the same time, they have to have that feeling that I am who I am. I'm giving the best that I can. I am using all that I am to do all that I have to do in the moment as you take it. This idea of focusing on, oh, I have to get here. I have to be at this position. I have to jump over some people to make sure I get there. Life, things change. COVID taught us that. If you didn't know anything before about life turning, when they say things can turn up and down, the COVID years taught us that anything can happen at any time. Anything can happen at any time. If what you think is where you think you want to go tomorrow, that whole organization may be scrapped. And there you are. Because you focused on getting to this place, you've not thought about developing your talents, your gifts, your skills. And how do you do that? By dealing with things as they come up every day. You deal with challenges. You face them. That's the main thing I would say to inspire everybody to say, face them squarely. Deal with it. Because as you're dealing with it, I try to imagine it's like, I don't know if you ever watched that Incredible Hulk, that green man, as they are throwing the things, you're just taking it and you're getting, you're just sort of getting bigger and bigger and coping. Where women, we have a peculiar problem in the sense that when I was younger, I remember if I was traveling with my late husband, then in the aircraft, you have the air hostess, or those days we had air hostesses eyeing me and stuff like that. You faced a lot of, there was this idea of being a threat just by being who you are. You're a threat for whatever it is. Then I found out that as the years went by, as you kept doing what you had to do, I tell when I'm talking to women who are facing troubles, I tell them that try and imagine yourself like a young tree, a young tree just starting. I said, it's easy to get at the branches. It's easy for somebody to come along and begin to cut them, deal with you. But you see what they forget as they are trying to contend with you, trying to make sure oh, you've come here to take over what mine. You're coming here to take, okay, I'm having my cup of tea here and somebody feels that, yes, that cup belongs to me. I'm the one who should have it and all that. And then you're there and that having to face all that. When you're growing, when you're starting, when you're young, you don't know your strengths. You don't know your abilities. You don't know, like a tea bag, you don't know how strong that you can be. And it's easy for them to reach those branches. But what they forget is that the roots are under the ground. I don't know if you understand what I mean. They are hitting you here, but the roots of that tree is growing. It's growing. The tree is growing. Then the day comes where suddenly they can't even reach it. Then the day further comes where they need that shade. They need the fruits from that your tree. And all the people that used to hit at you, you find them under the tree just looking up at you. So I got to where, when I present papers anywhere, the amazing thing is that it's the women that come up to me. I remember presenting a paper once, I don't know what I said, at International Women FIDA, International Women Lawyers thing. It took me an hour to get through the whole, and I actually tried to catch my flight. They mobbed me on the way. So I end up, you get to where it's a threat. No. No. This cannot be. It's like, okay, I don't know. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Yes. Same thing with working with men. I've always worked with men. And I reached where I became their boss. At least I was presiding justice. I would have men. I had men justices working for me. And even as I got to the Supreme Court, I'd have men working for me. One thing I tell everybody when I'm internationally, I said, the funny part about being good at what you do is that you do not have problems with men at work. it's incredible. If I got there saying, oh, I'm here because I'm marginalized, I'm a percentage, I need to be here, and meanwhile I'm not doing my work, it's as of right. I'm a woman, so I should be here. It's as of right. Then you face any problems you think you have faced, but you brought it upon yourself. Even if they say, oh, we bring in women to say, to satisfy that issue of being part of the workforce and all that, if you don't pull your weight, you are going to suffer what you have to suffer. All that thing has done is to open a door for you to go in there. Now, for you now to rise through from one step to another, it's on you to learn to do what you have to do, to face the work that you have to face and deal with it and forge ahead the way it is. I don't know if I'm, like I said, I'll wait until questions and answers to see what I would have to say. But somehow through all of it, I was able to manage the home, children, wife. When my husband was alive, I did all the cooking. Nobody, I would come back from court, and I mean, they're doing all that. There are things that, there are roles you play, but you don't sort of say that one would sip into the other or the other way around. I don't know how to explain it. It's a kind of I look back and how did I do it? It was like as if I was driven. That there was something, nothing mattered. You know, I would deal with whatever came along, but I had this thing that said, just keep going. And what was it? Day after day. What is before you? I have this judgment to write. I'm writing it. Before you know it, the day has gone by. I have this judgment to write. I have this one to do with. I have this one to deal with. I have to deal with this. I have to deal with it. And before you know it, 45 years went by, and I'm here speaking to all of you today. And at least that's a foundation for what I have to say. Yes.
I think that's really, it's really an amazing description. I know it's a debate every year, every guest speaker, the underlying question is always, can women really have it all? And sometimes we hear one side and say, oh, yes, you can, no, you can't, and all. But I feel like somehow, even if you're going to have it all, you need all the support you can get from like outside of yourself. Is that, would you say that that's a thing?
Yes, but if you say that you're waiting for that, then you never get to go anywhere. That type of support is earned. That type of support is something that would come naturally. But if you're insisting that until you get that support, you're not going to get anywhere, then you're wasting your time there at all. It is doing the work and yet having that empathy, the compassion, the every part of you, not that you become hard and say that you have to. I don't know how to explain. Just like respect, it is earned, and so there's a way that they would look and appreciate that, no, we need to support you, because first of all, they can see you doing the best you can. They can see that you're capable of so much. They can see you have the gifts, they have the skills, you have the ability, you are gifted in a certain area. I don't have the same gifts as you have. Like I said, you can't walk my path. I can't walk yours. You are created to be able to cope in a certain way. So if we can all bring in what we can, if you have a support group, if you have a family, you have a husband, you have people that can appreciate that, oh, what you have would be of benefit, not just to you, but to the family, to somebody, even as I'm speaking to you today, you won't believe the whole night I was just praying. I'm going to talk to so many people, and I was just praying that only God can see each and every one of them. Many of them, my path will never have crossed or anything, but my voice they're going to hear, or they will see me. And even if it's one person that I can touch, because when you're going through that journey, it's dark. You're walking through a dark tunnel. You don't see the light at the end. And you think it's only you. You think that, what you're going through is unique to you. No, it's not. It's not at all. There's this thing that says, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. When the student is ready, I may be talking to somebody right now who would say, listen, in between all that, I was in a polygamous marriage. I went through the hell that I went through with that. In all of it, I had children. I have 11 grandchildren now. I had 5, I lost one, I have 4. And there I was bringing up all the, my husband died in 2001, March 27, 2001. He was a senator, the first senator then to die in that place. So since 2001, we're talking of 23 years of having to now bring up young children, see them through, and do all that work. So it's not been an easy journey at all. But it's a case of, like I said, a kind of inner focus, something that tells you that what you have is valuable. What you are able to bring to the workforce is different. Like I said, when I was presiding, I can tell who I can use. I have justices, and I can tell which one I can rely on to do this or that or that. Can decide which one can do this or that. But I worked as like a mother hen, really, just carrying everybody along, being able to say it's our division. We are going to have to do this, or if it's in court and we're writing a judgment, it's like, we have to do the best that we write. Because this judgment we're writing, somebody's going to read it in 100 years' time. You can't, one day you're gone, and this is what you've left behind. So we need to do all that kind of motivational thing, which is what a lot of women, that's a gift you have, that you're bringing out the best in everybody, not just in your children, but in everything that you do. So what is inclusion? That when you enter somewhere, you are heard. You feel as if they're hearing you. They can see you. You're not just a cog lost somewhere in the wheel somewhere that nobody's there. You are who you are. You can bring in who you are and let them all appreciate that you have this unique thing that you can bring to the workforce. But I assure you, in doing that, others who can't do it will be waiting to pull, what they call that banana leaf? They'll be waiting to see how they can throw you off, how they can deal with you. You will always have contenders until the day they realize this one, like I said, like this one, no. I mean, let's just leave her where she is. I've had male colleagues tell me that, hey, fight with me, fight. What is not fight? It's not really fight. I would say contend is a better word. And then one day I remember one distinctly now telling me, I was telling my wife and my friends yesterday, Augie, I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to try. Let Augie just be good. I'm no more going to try. And this was a contention that was never spoken. It was there. That yet he voiced it to say, I'm not even going to try. Let me just leave her to go. And we became best of friends. And I could go. I remember the same person I went to say, there's this judgment I'm writing. I really don't think I saw the law. I don't think I'm right. Something tells me that can you please go through it? And he did. He said he went home and said, she's asking me to go through her judgment. She's actually asking me to go through her judgment. She's asking me. So he said, I went through it. And then the next day he told me I was wrong. So the next day he told me that, you didn't look at this, issue properly. And then he pointed at a book there. And I just opened it and realized the point that he was was making. And next thing you know, the judgment was for 2 days' time. I went back, I did a 180 degree turn to go the completely different way. And on Friday, when I was delivering this judgment, this guy had his mouth open and he said, she actually listened to me. So it's an innate thing. It's something that comes when you say you want to be better at what you do, at every stage, at everywhere, even at home. It's very easy for the men who are here, but it's really very difficult for a man to see the wife actually. Let me just be saying that it's not jealousy, it's not Is it fear of control? Is it something? But it's very difficult. The man has to be so secure in himself. But all the men speaking here, one thing I want to tell you is that if you know that your wife is good at something, don't look at her as a contest. It's not a competition. She's an asset. It's not, you don't compete with her. You look at it and say, she's bringing, because whatever she's doing, she's Mrs. So and so. So if she does well, it's an addition to you. It's an asset to you. And so you bring in that support. That is when you bring in the support, because it's our, not her or mine. You know, it's very easy to say that next thing the home front becomes a boxing arena. I need to put her in her place. Why is she like that? She's an asset. She's adding something. Not in this day and time where one person cannot pay all the bills. You need her to also bring in something. She's taking care of the home front. She's also going to work. She's coming back to make sure the house is run. She is an asset, somebody to be supported, somebody to say, let her even, you can sit back and watch with pride and know that all these things she's doing is bringing to us. But of course, generally, as you're going higher like that, it's easy to be seen as a competitor, to be brought down to the level. After all, and you're my wife. You cannot really be seen to be now above me like that. At the same time, I would also tell women also, don't bring it home. Home is a different place. Home is where you're the wife, you're the everything. No matter what you've achieved in the workforce, in the work front there, you're climbing the corporate ladder. Don't try to straddle that path where that side of you can be used this way, that side of you. That way, when you even when you go into work, we're talking of inclusion. You're including all of who you are. It's just that in certain circumstances, a certain part of your skills and all is needed here. But that doesn't mean you carry the honor and glory that comes there to take it home, to go and rub it in whichever way, or to show that I'm equal to you. I'll give you, let me just, talk about real life experience. I was actually teasing one of these lawyers that I know. His wife had studied something else for many years at home, and then she decided to study law. He had already gone very high up in the legal profession, and she decided to study law and was now going to law school, which was in Abuja. And I remember sitting him down to say, hey, let me tell you something. You see, your wife is leaving home to go to Abuja, to go that law that you've been carrying yourself. While she was working as in that her other profession, it was like, yes, you're the king of the house, you're the lawyer. That law, she has now studied it too. That Shesha and 5 foot, all that, I mean, the textbooks that you think you are, but she has done it. So please, and then she's leaving home after about 18 years or almost 20 years of marriage to go and stay 1 year in law school, where she will meet all manners of women, those that have opened IO, those that have not, those that are young, they will come with all the ideas. So please, I'm begging you, when she comes back from Abuja, please just be patient, because there will be a moment of transition. Please, I talked, I was trying to tell him, you have to prepare for that imbalance, for that equation changing, for that, boundaries have turned. They have to be reset. God just went back. One day in the middle of the street, he was with one girl in the car. This woman who dared not talk to him before, when they say cannot say boo to a goose, stopped her car, jumped out to go and grab him out of the car in the middle of the street in their state. It was like from where to where. So got home, threw all her things, and said she must get out. She was going to take her back to her parents. Then he remembered what I said. We're talking over about almost 20 years back. So he said he told her later that he actually told her that I had advised him. So Anyway, he remembered what I said. So on his way to go and throw her off at her parents' house, he just sort of calmed down. If you know how happily married they are here. So it's all about, I also spoke to another judge whose wife became a judge. And I had to try to tell him that whether you like it or not, it's human nature. She's now a judge also. She's going to go into that courtroom. The power you have as a judge, nobody can. You have power over people's lives, property. I can take your life tomorrow. You're sitting in court, whether you like it or not. That feeling of, they call it bench arrogance, you know. They say we have this bench arrogance because we're so used to giving orders and being obeyed. And before we know it, there's a certain arrogance that comes in. But all that, you're a judge before, and she was sitting doing some minor job. Now both of you're going to have to leave room, please, for that equation to change, for boundaries to be reset. She cannot be treated the same way. I would advise you both have different studies. She has her own study. You have your own. You'll be doing your own. You'll be doing her own, and every which way. But you have to make room for that. The same way, wives also have to know that you evolve with the man. You don't. You're married. You need to evolve with him. You don't stay in the ruts that you were in that time, thinking, "Oh, I've married, so that's it." No. You keep up. You evolve. Because it's also natural for him you're seated there, to reach a position in life where he's looking for a woman that would befit his new status. I'm just sorry if I'm this thing, but I'm stating things as they are. They need somebody to, that's where you have trophy wives. Suddenly he has the money, suddenly he has everything. He now needs a wife to put on the arm to status. So for men and women, we need to know that we are not just in this world to exist. We are not in this world to just think that we were born to just be nothing. No, but we have to also identify what we're good at. We have to know whatever gifts you have, even if it's a supporter. Even if it's not, there's some people that they're just quietly doing their job. They don't want anybody to know. They don't want to be seen. They don't want to know, but they derive joy in doing what they do. Now, if I'm a boss and I have identified somebody like that, before you know it, that person is my key the person that will help me. Because as a boss, I learned one thing: you delegate. You delegate. I make sure that you share it. You share the glory, you share the honor, but as God would have it, like I keep saying, at the end of the day, you cannot be fighting with your subordinates. You cannot be jealous of your subordinates. You cannot be contending with your subordinates because they are better at it than you. No, you utilize what they have. You are the boss. At the end of the day, you take the glory. The subordinate can never take the glory. So if there's anything they can do to bring to the table that can make you better at what you do, hey, you welcome it. You don't say, "Oh, she's trying to." I can tell you that I went through that. One of my justices that may his soul rest in peace now. We had a legal problem, that election matter, legal problem. That this was 2002. We had a legal problem that. Difficult that all of us had issues with how to solve. I was at the Court of Appeal then. And overnight, I was working on it and found the solution. So the next day, when I got there, and when we had a meeting, and I said, "Oh, this is the law, this is what they said." This guy flips. He went mad. "How? You've just come. This is the Court of Appeal. It's three of us. You cannot just come and just solve a problem like that." I can tell you exactly what he said. That is what they said. They said, even your husband's job as a senator, you were the one who was doing it for him. You can't come here and do it. Now, the third person, we were three. The third guy looked at him and said, he was new to the court. He said, "My lord, I don't understand. The whole night I couldn't sleep, wondering how we were going to solve this legal problem. and she finds a solution to it, and you are now getting upset over it. He couldn't just understand what this guy was talking about. But what he said is, you're no more in the High Court alone. You are here, three of us. You can't just come and be solving legal problems. Now, how do you explain that? He tells me he has 4 of my type at home. He has 4 of my type at home. Later, you won't believe we became best of friends. But this was his initial reaction to the fact that God gave me a brain and used it to solve a problem. It's like, how can you come to go? So I can give you instances of things like that. But like I said, this is workforce, so we're not talking of home front and all that, but to get to wherever it is that God has ordained for all of us to get to, it's not easy. Life is all about valleys and mountains. You're either going down or you're climbing up. You're going there. There are challenges coming, and they come from places you least expect. Like I keep telling widows, when your husband dies, it's always the person you least expected. It's always the one that you thought was your person, that they'll come and show you. Death brings out the worst in human beings. They just come and show you. First of all, you're still thrown. Your life is upside down. Then you're now looking to find out that people that you thought you were so close to are now enemies. So it's challenges. It comes. In the midst of it, I lost my husband. I had to take care of children. I had to do all the work, and I had to do all that. But like I said, I did get to the top. That's why I can even speak today. I did get to the top. I did get there, and I retired. At least I got to the top and retired, and hopefully, I hope I have inspired not just the women but the men to also recognize that life is not easy for everybody, and that in everything we do, we have challenges, and whether we like it or not, we have allies and we have contenders. We have to deal with human nature coming out from different aspects of everything, but focus. They just focus. Look at it as distractions. Finally, I'll just say what I say to young people when I tell them that when you start out, now I have reached where I'm always at the high table. They call us, we're permanently on the high table. Justice of the Supreme Court, permanently on the high table. Nobody can put you the other way. And then I go wherever I go, or I'm presenting a paper somewhere, or I'm doing something. You won't believe all those that wanted to kill me on my way up. Those that I grew up with, those that did, I don't know whether they don't remember what they tried to do to me. Sometimes I end up with high blood pressure, I end up in hospital because I can't understand. And now the ones dancing around want to show pictures. They want to tell people that, we were in school together. We did this together. Some of them, they would look at them and say, you know her? How can you know her? How can you know her? And they begin to show pictures to show that they knew me in those days. So so I tell young people, I said, listen, let me tell you, you see life, when you're in secondary school, when you're in university, when you're starting work, when you're wherever it is, the people you meet, some of them, let's imagine that your life is a 103 story building. Some of them don't see beyond the first floor. Some don't see beyond the third floor. Some don't see beyond the 5th floor. They don't see beyond the 90th floor. They see it. So once you're climbing up, and then you now get to this floor, the 3rd floor. The person who thinks the 3rd floor is their own and that everything there is theirs, and they see you, they now want to begin to fight you because they think you have come to take what they feel is theirs. Meanwhile, you know that you're just passing through. Yes, at first, all the first few floors, you two, you're wandering and you're standing there and they're dashing you up and down. By the time you've passed so many floors and realize that this is human nature, this is how they are. When I liken it to a tiger cub. You see a tiger, the cub, and you say, oh, what a beautiful, you can touch it like that, hug, and rubbing the shoulder. The day the tiger knows what it is and looks into your eyes, you yourself will know that you dare not even try. Or I say those of us who have nannies, brought up by nannies or have nannies, you have boys who have nannies. the day the young man knows that he is who he is, the nanny that used to beat him and shout at him will now be doing yoga. Yes, sir. No. So there's this thing that comes where you reach the floor and they are trying to contend and you are looking at them as if to say, hey, you don't have to say a word, but it's clear from your body language, from everything, that I'm just passing through here. I really don't want this your cup, or I don't want this your jewelry. I don't want where I'm going. I mean, to go from the Abuja to Kano, I must pass Zaria, I must pass Kaduna, I must pass from wherever it is. So I'm just passing through. I can assure you, just from your body, the way you are, as you're going, you get to where, as you come off the staircase and you're on that floor, this is how they will just let you, this is, like I said, this is how they will just let you walk by and you're gone. Before you get there, that's where the problem lies. Sorry, I've been talking, but
No, it's fine, and it's good because most of the questions that have come up in the chat box, you've addressed most of them. I think the only thing that has not been touched on is asking about did you experience microaggression or bullying from other women? So I think we can take that very quickly. For the other things, for someone that asks what inspired you to pursue a career in law, I can now say that I'm an expert on your life. So I can send you a document that answers that question.
Yes, so, she said she will post it. I actually put it in my valedictory speech. I don't know why. I've always known that I was going to be a lawyer. And so there's this captain, you later get to read it, but there was this captain, he was a captain then. He later became a minister in those days, Captain Hallard, his name was, but he was known as Captain Hallard then. And I was about 14. So what are you going to do when you grow up? And I said I was going to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a lawyer. And all he said was, oh, so you want me to stand up for you one day, that kind of thing. And I don't know why that just came out of his mouth. So you want me to stand up for you one day. And I don't know how that registered in my head, as if to say, it wasn't something that put me off. It was more like, I never had any thoughts of anything else. In those days, to enter university, I entered into university in 1972. In those days, you didn't have JAMB. So you had to do individual exams for different universities. And I didn't put anywhere else except IFE. IFE had the best law department for many years. I don't know when, in those days, by the time I got into IFE. And I put University of IFE, did the exam, put law, and I got there. It wasn't anything I had double minds about. I can also tell you, I remember one incident speaking with, speaking somewhere, and there was this young girl who went into, she's a lawyer, or went into, what do you call it, this phone thing, what do you call it now? What do you call this thing, the techno, this thing about the phone, what do you call it? And she spoke before me and said something about the thought of entering the courtroom, the delays, the this, the that, and no, she wasn't now going to telecoms. Yes, she went to telecoms, and the thought of going, no, she was not going to do it. So when I now went to speak of that, I told her that, hey, unlike you, the courtroom is my natural habitat. The courtroom is where, hey, I am who I am in toto. I am, as my colleagues will say, in my element. Now, you want to, as you're coming up with whatever it is that you want to come up with, I am ready to answer in any which way. Yeah, I can be firm, I'll be joking, but you can't cross a certain line. And then I'm ready for if it's a legal right. So it's all depends on how you see things. And my advice to everybody: do what you're good at. Don't enter into something that you think, oh, because your colleague is there or there. When you go into that type of thing, you're mediocre. You just don't have it. You go there because of some benefits you think you have. It may be something small. That's why I was a lecturer in law school from 1984 to 1988. I taught so many people, and yet I've gone into hairdressing salons. I've gone all kinds of places. My Lord, you taught me in law school. What are you doing? Oh, I own this place. They studied law to please their parents, but they found what they have a passion for. So it's let us identify what we are good at so that we excel when we get there. I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry. What do you say?
No, no, it's fine.
Bullying.
And
I thought I talked about bullying. I told you I went through hell with my friends growing up, and
yes.
all kinds of people dealing, because for some reason that I can only tell now, they saw that I wasn't in the same place with them. It was as if they could identify that you're not just one of us. I later got to find out things they do I was not included in. It's a kind of, this one is, you would say, like the ugly duckling in the ugly duckling story, you know, where you swat among ducklings, you know, and that things like that. So they would, the first thing, of course, is if you're not included, we'd have to deal with you or to throw you out, which worked out for me, because as you're doing that, I was just kept going up until I found myself where I was meant to be. So whether you say you will be bullied in all manners of ways, but let's just say that you don't look at it as bullying. You look at it as people pushing you to where you're meant to be. Because whether we like it or not, we will always, and like I also say, you know, your friend, you're wearing a white dress, you have a stain on it. You usually find that your friends don't look at it. They don't see it because, of course, they're not looking for any stains on your dress. But somebody that is contending with you, I don't like to call them enemies, but somebody that is contending with you and wants to see you derail will be the first person to start pointing at, can't you see he did this? That is to look at what is wrong with you. Look at, he has a stain on your dress. You do not go back and start to worry over that. You actually go back and ask yourself, is there any truth to it? Is there anything that I need? You learn from it.
Yes.
Your contenders have come to teach you how to be better. You learn from it. You adjust. You get to do the right thing. And by the time they say it again, when you have now actually become better at it, when they come up with it and say something, everybody will say, go ahead, go away, you're just jealous of her. I've faced things like that. I've faced so many things like that. They now turn against the person. You're just jealous of her. You know, so it's this thing. What else do you want to ask?
Thank you very much, Honorable Justice.